Check, check, check. Okay. So yeah, I want to talk about my own experience with it as an artist, and then as kind of give you a primer so you can get going. Film sound is sort of relevant to my work here because I have been creating video art for the CLEAT system. Typically, like the classic format for film sound was 3 speakers, 1 behind the screen and 2 on the sides in like the early 20th century. And in the later 20th century, they added speakers behind the audience to create like a 5.1 system, where 5 is the speakers around and 1 is the subwoofer. And because it's around you, you can create a sense of space. Something's happening in front, something's happening behind. And here's a diagram of that. That's you. You're having a great time. And left, center, right, the rear, surround left and surround right. And then the sub is over there in the corner. So this is actually a 5.2 system because there's 2 subs. So if you're making a movie, you're trying to create realism. Typically there's sort of like conventions. Like the dialogue would go behind the screen in the center channel. And then maybe like ambiance is behind you. Music might be more flexible, but there's like certain, the dialogue being behind the screen is kind of the main assumption. So when I'm doing work for CLEAT, all of that completely goes out the window because this isn't a spatialized system in the sense that it's around us, it's above us. And so there's like this sonic plane that we could spatialize things onto. And it just totally like reinvents your assumptions about what you want to create. It is possible to wire in the left and right speakers and the sub as well. So technically, CLEAT can be an 18.1 system, just not in the standard arrangement. So, what is CLEAT? CLEAT is 16 speakers. They are hemispherical. Each speaker is addressable as 1 channel. So even though there's like however many speaker cones on each speaker, you can't say I want to have sound come out of one of them. The whole thing is like 1 speaker unit. And they're numbered like so. This is this diagram of elastic that I sort of love because it's like, who's ever made a map of elastic? But this wall is the top, production wall. That's the storage area. So it's 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, and then the back row behind you is 13, 14, 15, 16. So the way we address the speakers, whoops. Okay, I'm actually gonna play, I forgot my structure here. I'm gonna play a piece of one of the videos that I made, just so you can hear something. So just give me 1 sec here. This is called Bliss Point 1. I'm mostly a musician, and about 2 years ago, I'd been curating the CLEAT Series for a while and wanted to kind of like branch out to see what I could do with it. And I'd always wanted to make a piece of video art as a way of sort of like moving into an area where I was less familiar with the tradition, to kind of be like ignorant in a good way and tear my artistic process down to the studs and kind of just make something totally new without having the weight of history on me. Which for me as a musician has always been like a major buzzkill that, you know, there's always some 12-year-old who knows every mode and can like play circles around you. So I wanted to create something which is purely my own creation. So the way I introduced this at the time is that I was stripping it to the fundamental elements of cinema, which you could maybe say that's a few different things, but light, sound, and language. So this is, it's like six or 7 minutes long. I'm gonna play a quick 3.5 minute excerpt. So I'm going to pull, right now we're looking at the video window of Ableton Live that you would extend the same way you extend a screen, like if you have two monitors at home. So now I'm going to put the actual mixing window on screen so we can all take a look at what I just did. And I should say that I don't use CLEAT in the most sophisticated way. There's all sorts of gearheads who love to do amazing surround panning, and I have the utmost respect for them, but it doesn't suit my artistic vision in the sense that I'm usually working at the very last minute, just trying to get something done. So we're going to look at sort of a more primitive way of working. There we go. Any Ableton users in the house? Logic, cool. Yeah, you can totally use Logic for this too. Sorry. The video window is messing with me. One sec. Or something? It might just be actually, it's not displaying. Sorry, 1 second here. Messing with my presentation. Sorry, 1 second. One moment. Okay. So, the video track is this right here, the sort of brown one. In Ableton, it's like also just on an audio track. And the audio you can see arrayed above in a variety of different tracks, which are straight up labeled with numbers for their channel assignments. So, I don't know if you can see here as well, but typically when you open an Ableton session or any DAW, Logic, Pro Tools, Reaper, whatever, your channels all sent to the master bus or output 1, 2. Here we're going to an external out, and we're defining that as 1, 2, 3, up to 16. And so if I solo like this, channel 1, you just hear that speaker. So this is an effective way that I find to sound design for video because it allows you to like really get in there and like say like I want the speaker to play this thing at X time. Whereas if you're doing music, it might make sense to like have a more free-flowing surround panner situation or something, which I can show you in just a bit. Any questions about that? So it's pretty simple. It's just I have a track for every speaker and sometimes duplicates because I want to play different things at different times or maybe have effects. And I just created a sound design based on that. So just as a quick review, I want to go over the signal flow, maybe for those who are a little less familiar with audio interfaces. So there's no mixing console in the way that we would like conventionally think of one in a live sound venue or a recording studio. It's all based around the DAW, which is the digital audio workstation. And so sources within that would be like a live audio input, like a microphone like this one, an audio file, which is what I'm using, or a synthesizer. And so the key moment in the software that happens is assigning sound to a given output, which I'm doing with a track. So the track goes to track output 2. That goes to So this is a digital connection that I'm establishing in the DAW. There's then a physical connection. It's a 1/4-inch cable that goes from the Mo2, which is the audio interface, to the first amp channel, which then goes on a long speaker wire with amp level signal to one of the speakers. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
No worries.
Assigning the audio to a track, is that the same as bus?
You can use a bus, which I'll show you in a little bit. I'm not using buses. I'm just straight up saying, this track, it's called 1, and it goes to external output 1, which means that it goes out of the audio interface output 1 to the Mo2, or that's the Mo2, sorry. This is the audio interface. So software, physical hardware output to the amp, to the speaker. So this is the part we're controlling in software. You can do a bus in a way I'll show you in a little bit, but basically you would say like bus 1 has an output of on the interface of 1, and then you could send various tracks to it, which would totally work. It involves using automation in this way that like I find slows me down when I'm doing this sort of project. Okay, I'm gonna play. That was my first attempt. Super simple. Sort of like got a taste for it, and then elaborated a little bit with this next one. So I'm gonna play a chunk of Bliss Point 2, where I basically gussied it up with an expanding vocabulary of things you'd find in a movie. So sound design, story, richer language. It's just one moment here. This is also a shorter edit of a longer piece. Meredith, can you turn down the lights a little bit? Thank you. Shout out Meredith for being here. All right. Thank you. Okay, same thing, session reveal. Let me just close the video window here, I think. Did anybody notice any sonic differences between the first one and the second one?
There's a moment towards the beginning when you flash like a whole matrix of words on the screen. So with the sounds so like more rapid fire.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I like basically worked way harder on it, so it's like possible to like do more granular choices like that.
A lot more cutting.
Yeah, and so to take it back to the technical domain, there's two ways to do that. One is by like just very arduously cutting up sound and placing it in the tracks, because track 1 goes to there, track 2 goes to here. So if you want it to scroll across it, you're just stair-stepping audio pieces. You could also use automation, which I can show you in a second, to send to there, and then to there, and then to there, and then to there. But either way, it's a lot of work, and there's kind of no way around it, which is just true of making a movie in general, because it's all about the tiny details. The other thing is that I used a sub, so that I'm putting the 0.1 and the 18.1. And the way I did that, this is, I'm sorry, a little bit hard to see. I wonder if I can increase the display size. Yeah, a little bit. So, sorry, I lost track of it. It is the top row, this orange one. Sorry, I want to know what I'm talking about here. Which I handled it's this one here. It's the same setup as all the other tracks. There's no bus. So I'm also handling this in the crudest, like kind of like, I'm going to throw low frequency material at the subway, but it sounds pretty good. So I just sent stuff that would benefit from a low rumble to that track. In the next session, I'll show you it's handled in a slightly more sophisticated way. So yeah, I mean, if I want something to play out of 2 speakers at the same time, you have to actually literally copy it to adjacent tracks. So it kind of becomes this cut and paste collage experience, which I think some people really like that. I've always liked the kind of tactility and it's not tactile, it's just involved, and you can visually see. I think it has an affinity with like composition a little bit, where you're kind of like laying it out on the page, and there's a left to right quality that I really react to. So this works for me. It wouldn't necessarily work for everyone, but so you can make a sound piece this way. You could spatialize a piece of music this way. You could have, let's say, this is the verse. We want the verse in as many speakers as we can put it in, and then the chorus we want to sound small, or the opposite, and then it would just be in 1 speaker. So it's a good way to visualize, and it feels like kind of like arranging music. Just more dragging clips around than using effects.
So here you have a sound going through speakers 4 and is that 11?
I think so. They're also totally out of order.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these 2. So are you thinking like that's going to show up in the middle?
Not really.
How are you doing your selections?
Also with this project, I'm completely embracing artificiality and like hard cuts and things sounding kind of broken, and like revealing the mechanism by which the thing is created. So a lot of the camera work is really glitchy because it's sped up, or there's these weird cuts at different times, because I'm just creating an energy. And so that's the same way I edited the sound. It's not about ambiance, really. It's just about creating an experience. I think in general, things that I want to be more enveloping are like kind of in the front, and things that are more ambiance are in the back. Yeah.
You use stereo files, but it's just a mono signal, actually.
Yeah, so it's just summing to mono. And the reason for that is simply because the music I was using is music that my band Q Shop created, and so I just had stereo stems. There's no good reason for it. the Bliss Point 3, I did use stereo pairs of speakers. So there's like a little, I use stereo pairs, like chaining together 1 and 2 as a single unit. So there's a little bit more stereo content there. My experience is that for something like this, where it's moving so quickly, you'd have to really be listening hard to perceive whether or not it's stereo. But yeah, for a more immersive thing where you need to have like kind of a sense of stereo spread, that would be very important.
Sorry, because my English is not so good. So in the next piece, you use the stereos over 2 speakers?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have an original stereo file, you use it over 2 adjacent speakers?
Yes.
Kind of, okay.
Yeah, so you could conceive of the CLEAT as like a chessboard of like, if you did 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be 2 stereo experiences. And there's ways to wire it up where like, it could be left, right, so you're having a stereo experience, and then that could be right, left. And so any way you're positioned within the space, you're having like kind of like, sort of like a headphone experience. Did you have a question?
Just about the sub, does it have to be separate from everything? Like its own track?
I realize I'm supposed to be repeating the questions for the live stream. The question is, do I need to make the sub separate? It needs to. So the way that the sub is hooked up is that the audio interface has 16 outputs, and there's an additional box that adds 8 more. So the sub is wired to the 17th. So the way that I've done it, I have a track going to 17. I can also show you momentarily a way to use an aux send to do this, which would allow you to send every track to the sub, to an extent. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open up the third one.
So like you could send everything to the sub and just have a low pass filter, so like so it only gets everything under 100 hertz.
Yeah, exactly.
When you said 1 okay, there could be 8 subs.
There could be 8 additional speakers. So 3 are in use. It's this one, that one, and the sub. Which I did use in the third piece for dialogue, so you'll get a sense of what that could sound like. In a musical setting, the left and right mains can be useful for, like, whatever you want to emphasize in a mix, or maybe you want to add the punchiness of like a loud PA, but then also have this kind of unusual surround sound vibe with the 16 overheads.
So you could also do 16 like aux tracks and then send a little bit of signal to any one of those to create more ambiance, right? That's 'cause
Yes.
that's the only way to create more depth, like in stock Ableton, I assume.
Yes. There's also a multi-channel panner in whatever the most expensive Ableton is that you can use, that I can show you a version of in Max. I think there's enough questions about aux sends that I'm going to show you this session. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see. But this is audio, similar to what we've been looking at. It's routed. I couldn't figure out how to turn the routing off entirely, so it's going to like output whatever, 30 or 20 or something that doesn't exist. So there's nothing there. It's not going anywhere the way that in the previous settings, speaker 1 was external 1. We're routed to different speaker positions via these aux tracks at the bottom. So this one's going to 1. This one's going to 4, which is the one in front of Scott. It's basically the 4 corners of the room. This is 13, which is the one by the bar. And then 16, which is the one by the door. So this isn't, I'm going to start looping it. It's not sending to anything right now. But if I turn this up, I'm sending to aux 1. And then it appears over there. 4, 13. 16. So one could also have a much more pared down set of audio tracks, like 4 or 6, with every sound element, and you could draw in automation to send it to different tracks at different times. And I'm sorry, this is going to be kind of challenging while I'm looking backwards at this huge screen. Where is it? So this is automation. Now we're looking at the level to which it's routed to channel 1. It's at 0 right now. I'm going to make a send. I'm going to make an unsend by drawing that in. So let's hear it appear in this channel over here. So you get the picture.
So if you wanted to, so this would not be a good approach if you wanted the sound to go in a circle.
It would be a very bad approach if you wanted the sound to go in a circle, because you'd have to work really, really hard.
Yeah.
You'd be drawing a bunch of little short pyramids on each one.
16 pyramids.
Yes. So because the question was asked, let's look at a different way of addressing the system. On our website, CLEAT.info, we have a bunch of resources, which I will just go ahead and show you. Here's a website. It's like, looks like it was made in 1993 in a good way. Complimentary. On the resources page, you can find tools to get you started. So this is a manual. These are drivers you need to download to use the audio interface. Here are some Max patches that allow you to create software tools to use the system. There's a tool for Reaper to have like surround sound panning. Reaper's cool because it's free-ish.
You should pay for Reaper. You really should.
Yeah, they're like doing a good thing. So
It's $60.
Yeah.
Pay for Reaper.
let's all agree we're going to pay for Reaper today, maybe. Ableton template for CLEAT. This is if you're an Ableton user, there's like a set of aux sends that can get you started. And this is in Max. There's also one in Super Collider that we're adding. So the sample Max patches are among the most useful. You can download those. I'm going to open up Max really fast. Do we have any Max users in the house? I'm not really a Max user. It kind of scares me still. But
Scares me too.
yeah.
We're all just aspiring.
Yeah. But this is relatively easy to use. Max, for anybody who doesn't know, is just a very flexible piece of coding software that allows you to create custom software that can do kind of whatever you want if you have enough knowledge to use it. So these are objects. You can think of them like informational guitar pedals that process information and incoming audio to make things happen. So just to walk you through this really fast, this is an on switch for the whole shebang. This opens an audio file with this object SF play. This is level, and this is a little program that our friend Stefan wrote to make the signal wander around the room. So you also need to turn the audio on. So you can manually control it. This represents the room. Where the center is kind of the field. And if you go outside, you can go past the furthest speaker. So you can pan across and get kind of a beautifully dramatic effect. Stefan created this thing where it wanders around. There's a different version of this where it goes in a circle. And And so if you were just wanting to play back a musical composition or sing into a microphone and have it go around, this would be a great way to do that. You just need to add a live, audio input for a microphone, or you need to select your own audio file. Or you could add a bunch of these, and each of your different sources would have like a different wandering pattern, and I think that could be pretty spectacular. Yeah.
Would the audio file have to be configured so that it has the different tracks that it's sending to, or can it just be like a lab and then that?
It would just be any kind of an audio file. I think it can handle uncompressed audio like AIF or WAV or like an MP3. And it's when you open, it goes to like your Finder and you just select a file. So I could play back something else. Like if I wanted to play like just the harmonium, that's what this is now. Something's like quivering in a weird way.
The entire room? Yeah.
It's pretty strange. Yeah. I've never seen that before either. Weird.
Because the blue line goes by a lot.
Yeah, okay. Let's just keep it. No. Okay, that's very odd. Let's.
It was quivering before too.
Okay.
It could be like laundry.
Yeah, let's say it's laundry. We'll keep an eye on it. So Max is a very technically involved way to address the system. If you want to get involved with it, that's incredible. It's really fun and cool, but you need a lot of technical knowledge to make it happen. Those presets you can download from our website give you the ability to do panning in this format within Reaper, which is the cheapest $60 version. And Ableton, if you're an Ableton user, you need the highest version of Ableton. Logic also has a surround panner, but you have to configure it in a slightly more involved way. So all those things are possibilities. Any more questions for the moment? Yeah.
So, kind of maybe off topic, but if you had like, I'm just trying to see, like, if you had like an instrument with like 16 tracks, could you like play it like one track per speaker if you set it up as like a MIDI receiver? And
Is it a MIDI instrument or audio instrument?
like an audio instrument, then you use the computer as like a MIDI receiver.
The computer, yes. It wouldn't really be doing MIDI, it would be routing audio. I can just show you, if you want to do that, I can show you two ways to do that really fast. So in Max, which would be, this is actually a pretty good use case for Max, because it just involves routing. We're going to make an analog to digital converter, and then if we want to make 16 tracks in, just number the tracks. I'm not going to do all 16. Let's say there's 8. And then if we make a gain, this is like a fader. So we would do that times 16. We're then going to connect our audio. Dotted line means audio. Non-dotted line means it's sending numbers. And then we're going to make an analog to, or digital to analog converter to get us out of digital land and label it with 16. I'm not going to do 16, but I'll do 8. This would pass signal from, you'd have to plug it into the audio interface. So it would be instrument, cable, audio interface. Our computer.
Yeah.
Interesting. So instrument, cable, we're just talking about one channel. Instrument, cable, interface. Then we're in the computer. This sets the level, how much is passing through the computer. This is the output of the interface, output 1 through 16. So this connection goes from your instrument's out 1 straight through to that speaker.
So does that mean you don't technically need the computer?
You need the computer because this part has to happen. You can think of the computer as, not necessarily the computer, but the programs you're running on the computer as an interface for the for the interface. It's like your way of controlling what it does. Because if no computer's plugged in, it doesn't do anything. It's just a box that could route audio. You need to route the audio to make it happen. Yeah.
And sorry, what input is going to the analog to digital converter? Like what's like a physics, like an example?
So I really want to see your 16-channel instrument because it sounds incredible.
Well, I was just thinking like if you had like an electron box, you could just
Yeah.
like one track.
Yeah, or like a modular system or something like that would have a bunch of outputs. Let's just pare it down to a slightly simpler example, just to not get confused about all these different channels. Let's say we're playing guitar, and like a guitar is plugged into a microphone, or I'm talking to this microphone. The way it works actually is that it would be routed into, there's a snake over there, so XLR cable to snake. Snake runs back to the mixer. Mixer gets it up to line level with the preamp. And then through an aux send, we send it into the interface, at which point we're in digital land. And then using say again. Stay away from digital land unless you're routing a guitar through CLEAT. So, yeah, this is one way to do it. I'm maybe spending too much time on this, but another way would be I'm going to make just an audio track. So, sorry, I can't see that well. We're in automation mode, so I'm going to turn off automation. I really can't see. Basically, you would take external input 1, the way we did in Max. Like, Ableton and Max are talking to the same interface. They're just like different languages to speak with it. So we take external input 1 and then route it to external output 1. And then that track would be doing the exact same thing that we just did in Max, just like less by hand. Or we could do this other thing that we were talking about a second ago, where if this was our track, we could send it to different aux tracks. We could say, it's not going anywhere right now, but if we send it to channel 1, it would be coming out of channel 1. And that would be an easy way to have an audio track grabbing audio from the outside world, and then we could send it to different speakers to different degrees, which would actually be probably the most useful thing to do with it. Because the way these speakers sound, it's a softer and more intimate sound than like a big PA system, because it doesn't need to be as loud to get to you at the same level. So I like to think, like, it's tempting to do like crazy pyrotechnics with it, but it also just creates this like close at hand sound that if you were playing acoustic guitar or if you were playing with your modular setup, it's a way to like bring it to the audience in like a more direct way. So even if you sent your one signal to all 16 speakers, that's going to be a different and interesting experience than a standard concert. Anything else for the moment? Sorry. It kind of like, it's tough without you hooking up because it can kind of feel like just a lot of words, but I hope this can provide kind of like a context to understand when you actually hook up later. So because of those questions, I actually covered all my material. Thank you. I'm going to play the last movie because it does a few things that the others did not. And it's kind of like a third level of complexity. It uses a sub on an aux send, and it uses the mains in a surround sound way where the mains contain dialogue. So I'm going to show you really fast what this looks like. Okay, we're back to the wiggle here. So very similar setup. I use stereo tracks, so any stereo content you will hear through, like, if it's routed to channels 1 and 2, it's those two, and it's left and right, just like your headphones or your stereo at home. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each of those has its own stereo experience. So I think the music is probably a little bit richer. from any seated position. And then these are dialogue tracks. They're routed to the mains. And there's a sub that's also on an aux track here. So all of the individual tracks can access that. Hey, Meredith. Could you make sure that channels 25, 26, and 27 on the board are like up around -5? Like -5. Cool. And that matters because those channels are routed through the console in a way I can show you later if you're interested in. Okay, we're not made of time. I'm going to show you the entire thing just to get a sense of kind of the evolution and the way that like a sustained engagement with this system can produce kind of radically different results over the years. So bear with me.
We are busy daily with triumph and tragedy, excellence and depravity, determination and defeat. For sure. When one of us springs, another lies still. When one of us sings, another falls silent. On and on and on and on and on and on until a pause. Cooks at their chopping blocks, thieves at their counting tables, wives in their ecstasies, lovers in their ministrations, doctors in the OR, riders on the 66, sleepers in their dreams, associates at their workstations, remote pilots bombing dissidents from office parks in Chicagoland. Pause for a moment, a long moment, to take a beat and wonder in this eon of peace and love, this instant of violence and negligence. What seeds am I sowing? Then those called forth from matter to witness matter. Take a breath and begin again.
We're using a computer. We're speaking out of turn. We're following the instructions. We're trying hard to learn.
We are making reckless purchases. We are constrained by the circumstances. We are playing muted trumpets. We are making a return.
We are tossing seeds of silence. We are singing word of abundance. We are hungover at 10:28 a.m. We are confirmed with the beggars in protest.
They're simmering with rage. They're just now touching base. We are delivering with the remarks. We are eating protein bars on the brick rotating runway, watching those circle a burning car.
We are tapping our inserter. We are laying down the phase. We are writing parking tickets. We are handing out our mixtape.
We are scanning the QR code. We are shouldering the load. We are exploding cold waters. We are accepting Series C funding, targeting an IPO.
We are baiting a dead horse. We are prepping a fresh export. We are salting the land we planted. We are not taking the moment for granted.
We are maximizing utility. We are going out for JV. We are smoking Swisher Sweets. We are getting cold feet, sinking into quicksand on the beach.
We are not getting taken for a jump.
We are locating level.
We are holding space for two things. Be true at once.
We are rising softer souls.
All right. Thank you very much. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever would have created something like that if I weren't thinking about CLEAT over the years and involved with a artistic kind of medium where there's no form at all. There's no like preconception, and it can be kind of scary to like throw away the benchmarks of success, because you have to admit that like whatever you created is authentically in your mind, and you're not trying to like achieve some sort of outer metric. But it's also sort of liberating, and so you know, I don't know if it has to be CLEAT for you, but I'd recommend trying something like that out. So with that said, should we pivot into the people plugging in and trying things out segment of the evening? Yes.
Sorry, I do have one more question.
Yeah.
I might be mistaken, but this project and then the project that you were showing earlier, I think it was the patent one. There was, in this project, there was like no input, and then in the patent one, I think there was an input. It was like an external input one.
Yes.
So setting to the external output. I know they're different things, but why does this one not have the input and the previous project does?
The previous project had an input simply as a way of demonstrating what it would be like to get like the instrument into the system.
Okay.
What I'm doing here is theatrical sound design. So like I recorded everything long ago, and so nothing needs to be recorded into this session. It's purely like arranging sounds to be listened to.
Yeah. I was just.
Yeah. No. So, yeah, you could. The only reason you'd ever want an external input in a live situation is to do a performance. Any other questions before we move on? Yeah.
So could I, like, with my laptop, do something and then bring it up there, or do I have to have like drivers or something?
You do need drivers. So let me show you where you can get those really fast. Elastic's Wi-Fi is, I can just show you this probably. It's called Elastic Art Guest 2.4. And let me write the password down. Password is free, jazz ain't free. This is all one word, all lowercase, no apostrophe. And if you go to CLEAT.info, and then resources, the drivers are on this page.
And I just want to jump in right here and say, if you have found this talk interesting, which there's no way that you wouldn't have, there are going to be 3 more of these talks over the next few weeks. The next one will be with Scott Rubin, who is trying to make an escape, but I had to flag that before you get on out of here. So Scott will be the next the next speaker a week from tonight. So please come on back and
Same time, same place.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you'll learn something much different because Scott works with like live data input and mapping sounds on the ceiling, dance, movement, live performance. So it's a very, totally different sort of project. This is our website. This is an email address that if you have a proposal, or you'd like to come in and rehearse, which is always a possibility, email us and we'll pass your info along to the Elastic staff. we're always looking for musicians and artists to book for our series. So if you have an idea, please reach out. It doesn't need to be super developed. You don't need like a proposal. You can just talk to us about what you want to do. We used to be limited in when the rehearsals could happen, but it seems like that limitation has recently vanished. So I think there's a lot of different days definitely eased. So Tuesdays, a lot of the times they hold space for artists to come in and just practice. And then this is me. So if you want to ask me a question, send me an email, or this is Instagram. Yeah. Anything else for now, or should we start trying to make some sounds? All right, cool. Yeah. Thanks for coming, Scott. All right, I'm going to relinquish the controls then, and whoever's ready first, come on up.
And also, if folks are interested in taking a look at the kind of behind-the-scenes guts, amplifiers, Low-2, back in the
That's a great idea, yeah. So maybe, well, anybody who wants to plug in is getting ready. We can give you a quick tour back there.
Groups of 8 channels, so that and then doing all kinds of screwy things to